Come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got your black.
Used to spend my nights out in ballroom. Liquor was the only love I'd known. But you rescued me from reaching for the bottom and brought me back, being too far gone. You're as smooth as Tennessee whiskey. You're as sweet as strawberry wine.
I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm delighted to have you hanging out with us in this hour of our program. I've been looking forward to this conversation, a return visit to this program by our friend and sister Fawn Weaver, who is the CEO of Uncle Nearest Inc., which makes her the first black American woman to ever found and lead a company valued at more than $1 billion outside of sports and entertainment. Her new book is called Love and Whiskey, hence the song, which sounds awfully nice. The book is called Love and Whiskey, the remarkable true story of Jack Daniel, his master distiller Nearest Green, and the improbable rise of Uncle Nearest. I am pleased to welcome Fawn Weaver back to this program. Fawn, how are you today?
I'm great, Tavis. How are you?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I am doing well, and I'm glad to hear your voice again. Congrats on the book. It's a beautiful book, a beautiful cover, beautiful story, and I'm glad to have this hour to unpack some of it with you. Let me just start with this, just some broad strokes, and we'll work our way into this remarkable company that you lead and the amazing things that you're doing with it. How did you become such a serial entrepreneur in the first place?
You know, it's funny. I think because I was a high school dropout, it was easier to not have to explain myself on applications. I mean, that's the easiest way to explain it.
Mm-hmm. So now you've shocked everybody. How does a high school dropout end up being the first black woman to lead a $1 billion company outside of sports and entertainment? How does that happen?
I think you just followed the path that was created for you. So for a lot of people, when there's a challenge that arises early in life, they take it with them. They take that with them as baggage, as luggage, or whatever. And I just didn't. I continued to move forward and to follow my unique path. And my path worked for me because the world as it is set up tries to mold people into almost being not who they are, but representatives of themselves. People don't feel like they can show up as their whole selves to work, to their relationship, to anything. And I think being out on my own from such an early age, I just refused to let anybody mold or shape me. And that's allowed me not second guess myself, because I'm only dealing with me, not a representative of me. I'm dealing with authentic Fawn at all times. And so I think it's just made it easier for me to progress in life.
Tell me more about that constitution, where that kind of confidence comes from.
The Bible. Truly, every bit of my life is rooted in my foundation is the Bible. It's my belief in Christ and being a follower of Christ, and I actually take the word at what it says. I think a lot of us do not take the time to discover it ourselves. We get regurgitations of it on Sunday, then we don't really think about it too much till the next Sunday. And we constantly have somebody else interpret for us instead of doing it ourselves. So when I was 20, I spent 6 months literally reading the Bible cover to cover as many times as I could. I'd go back through it and say, okay, I'm only going to read Jesus' words, just the words in red, and I want to understand what was important to him. So really deep diving like that, I think it gave me a level of confidence, because I'm not moving in this world like I'm of this world.
I could unpack that last comment for the next 3 hours if I had time. I was just in conversation with somebody the other day who was trying to understand my thinking on a particular issue, and all I can tell you without spending 20 minutes reprising the conversation is I said to them, this world is not my home. This world is not my home. If you believe that everything begins and ends with the state that we find ourselves in right now, then you'll never understand my thinking about the way I move in a variety of spaces and places. But I know that ultimately this world is not my home, and everything for me is not about right here and right now. And that informs every decision I make in my own work and witness. I digress on that, so I'm simpatico with you on that particular point. Let me just ask you again, like some broad questions here. We'll work our way into this story. Tell me then, since you went there so boldly, tell me about the intersection of your faith and business, your faith and enterprise.
Yeah. Listen, every aspect, you come on the grounds of Near's Green Distillery, and you are really clear that foundation is love, honor, and respect. I mean, you will hear it so many times as you're on tour, and all of that just comes from being the people that God created us to be. And so you'll see when you come to, and our distillery now is the 7th most visited distillery in the world, not just whiskey distillery, all distilleries. And when you come, it's interesting because people come there and they're like, I was expecting to sort of be inundated with information on whiskey. And what people get when they get there, even if people don't drink, they feel welcome. They feel like it's home, like they belong there. And there's just a level of I don't know. It's hard to explain. I tell people all the time, women, especially women and people of color that are starting out in business or that are starting their climb through corporate America, wherever it is that they're trying to achieve, I always tell them, just come to the ground of Near's Green Distillery. Something happens. You begin to think bigger. You begin to believe that you can do more than you thought you could, because when you're looking at this 458 acres and realize a black woman who's 5'4" owns that, it just does something. And the level of excellence from beginning to end, it just does something to people. And all of that to me is my foundation, how I built this company. We began with 10 guiding principles. And those 10 guiding principles, if you read them, and you can literally, people can just Google Uncle Near's guiding principles, and you will see faith throughout every single guiding principle. You said
5'4", and my mind went immediately to a quote that I just shared on this program the other day. I was talking about Fannie Lou Hamer, and Fannie Lou Hamer said many things that I love. But one thing she said was, if I fall, I'm going to fall 5 feet 4 inches forward. If I fall, I will fall 5 feet 4 inches forward. So when we come forward, we will continue our conversation and get into the good stuff, the sweet spot, as they say, around this amazing story. It's told in the book Love and Whiskey, the remarkable true story of Jack Daniel, his master distiller Nearest Green, and the improbable rise of Uncle Nearest, the company headed by Fawn Weaver, our guest right now, and I'm glad about it, on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994. Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Securing your firearms protects lives. Pick up your free gun safety lock at select LA County libraries and hospitals. Learn more about other gun safety measures you can take to keep our families and communities safe. Visit lacountygunsafety.org or call 1-833-540-0473 for more resources on gun safety. Together, we can save lives.
SoCal on July 14th, Big 3. We're back. The world's greatest basketball in the summer. The Big 3. There's simply no comparison, no competition.
They not like us.
That's right, they not like us. We own the summer with our traditional hard-nosed brand of basketball. The Big 3, founded by Ice Cube. It's professional 303 basketball with former NBA greats and Hall of Fame coaches. Come out to the Honda Center July 14th. Hang with your homeboy Ice Cube and watch the greatest game in the summer. It's your homeboy Ice Cube. It's the Big 3, Season 7. The hottest game of the summer. I'll be in the house with your favorite Big 3 players and Hall of Fame coaches. Get your tickets at big3.com/tickets. Oh, yay, yay.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
This is Tavis Smiley in conversation with Fawn Weaver. Her new book is called Love and Whiskey, the remarkable true story of Jack Daniel, his master distiller Nearest Green, and the improbable rise of Uncle Nearest. I mentioned earlier, Fawn Weaver is now the first black American woman to ever found and lead a company valued at more than $1 billion outside of sports and entertainment. And the story of what they are doing, she and her husband are doing with Uncle Nearest, is an amazing tale, and I'm delighted to have her on this hour to try to just scratch the surface. I can't do justice to the entire story in a 60-minute conversation, but I'm going to do the best I can to give you some sense of this amazing story, this narrative that she's weaving literally every day down in Tennessee. So I think I want to start with this, unless you feel differently, Fawn. You know this story better than I. You tell it brilliantly in this text. But I think it would be a good place to start to give people a sense of who Uncle Nearest was. The company's Uncle Nearest, Nearest Green, was the master distiller. This is a black man named Nearest Green. I'm not so sure that it makes sense to start with more about Jack Daniel first and then Nearest Green, or Nearest Green and Jack Daniel. You tell me.
Well, I think we start with Nearest Green.
Okay.
And that's just because I always start with Nearest Green.
Let's go.
He is what we now know to be the first the teacher and mentor of Jack Daniel when Jack Daniel was young. And following the Civil War, Jack was, what my research shows and what their companies show are two different dates, but let's just say that what we know for sure is it was after the Civil War that Jack Daniel asked Nearest Green to be his master distiller. That master distiller position of distillery number 7, Jack Daniel Distillery number 7, made Nearest Green two things. Number one, the first known master distiller, African-American master distiller. And the second thing that it did is it made him the only known master distiller for distillery number 7. And, of course, anyone who drinks Old Number 7 now knows where that began. And so being able to unearth all of this, and so much of this, the company simply did not have. And so people look at it and say, well, how did the company not know? Well, I own the property where the original Jack Daniel's Distillery number 7 was. And the water's still running through there, the same water that ran through that whiskey. And so there's a lot they just didn't know. And through the years, Prohibition, the company being turned over to other people, they simply did not know that history. Because if they had, they would own that property instead of me. And this is just this is literally a piece of their history that got lost to time, unfortunately to them. But fortunately for us as Black people, the history ended up in the hands of someone, one, who was Black, 2, who would tell the full story and not water it down, and 3, would make sure that the Green family was not only involved, but was benefiting from and excited about the company.
We know that Nearest Green was a Black man. And I want to ask you in a moment about this picture on the cover of the book. It's an amazing photo. But we know he was a Black man. We know he was a master distiller. Tell me more. What else do we know about Nearest Green? I want to just color in his humanity.
Yeah, I wish we knew more. So much of what we know about Nearest, because of the time frame in which he was alive and the fact that he's a formerly enslaved man, is most of what we know, we're somewhat guessing based on the children he had. And their personalities and their success and that level. What we know about Nearest was that he was a man of excellence, and that it's funny because it's just sort of a little piece that's off the side, is that he was a fiddler, and it's something his grandson Jesse picked up. They're both fiddlers. And so you have someone who worked hard during the day and enjoyed music in the evenings. But we really don't know a whole lot about him outside of his work. Yeah.
So help me understand then what it takes to become a master distiller, and more to the point, what it took for a Black man to become, to be allowed to become a master distiller then.
Well, here's the thing, is I don't care what bourbon any person drinks. If it's not Uncle Nearest and it was founded over 100 years ago, the likelihood that the distiller was Black is very high. The difference is we don't know any of their names. We don't know any of their legacies, neither do their families, because those companies have not shared those records. They haven't shared that information. The other unique thing about this is to be a master distiller, that means you have complete reign over the entire operation. At that time, that meant you ran everything soup to nuts in regard to that product. You weren't out there doing the sales and marketing and PR. That was Jack Daniel. But you were in the still house overseeing the full operation. And we don't know that of a Black person in American history. Literally, Nearest Green held that position until, I believe, maybe somewhere around 2014, another Black master distiller started a whiskey company. But prior to that, it's just Nearest.
Yeah. I'm not naive about this, and neither are you. It's just another area of human endeavor that this story rolls out in the way that it does. But it's not lost on me, and I know not lost on you, given all the research you did for the text. That here's another lane where Black people have had an outsized impact, an outsized imprint. And to hear you say that no matter what the brand is, if it's been around 100 years or more, there's a very good chance that the master distiller was probably an African American. How do I process that? How do I read that? Given all the things that we've done to make this country what she is, again, our imprint is undeniable in every field of human endeavor. And yet here's another field where you draw attention to the fact that if it's over 100 years old, there's a really good chance that there was a brother, maybe even a sister, who was the master distiller.
Yeah, that's just the history of this country, and we're still trying to perfect our union now.
Yeah.
So we are a country with a brutal history. Now, mind you, I don't know a country in the world that doesn't have a brutal history. So we're not unique in this. I travel around the world a lot, and I'm always happy to be home. So this isn't. I recognize our faults. I recognize all the places where America could be better, but we also have to remember America is an experiment.
Yeah.
We're one of the youngest countries in the world.
Yeah.
You go to Cognac, where we own property and are the largest vineyard owner in the city of Cognac for Grand Champagne grapes, and you literally have bottles, brands there that are older than our entire country. So to understand that America is still an experiment, and in the beginning of this, the people who you had running it were just terrible people. There's no way to sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
And so we have a history of doing a lot of the work, of building a lot of this country, and we're just now learning those stories. A part of that, if you think about it, is we had 388,000 people that actually made it through the Middle Passages to America because we were the furthest distance. Most got dropped off in Brazil and the Caribbean, all these areas before it ever got to America. It was very difficult to make it all the way here. If you made it here alive, you were so strong mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, because that was one hell of a journey. And so once you get here, you are intelligent from where you came from. But if we were to plop ourselves right now in the middle of some village in China, as intelligent as you and I are, we would become stupid very quickly.
Very quickly.
If the people there refuse to teach us their language, and we're trying to learn it, now what's the chances that our way of saying things and writing things isn't going to look, quote unquote, proper?
Yeah, I was laughing because I'm sorry, I was laughing because I've been to China in that very situation, and I was stupid very quickly. So this is not, this isn't just.
But people don't think of it that way, right? Yeah. They think that when we got here, so many people think that we were just less intelligent. It's like, no, we just didn't know this language.
That's right.
And so understanding that any person who was black moving in, and I can't say African American because we weren't American, we were property. So we were simply Africans in a foreign land. And the movement through this country in those early years, for quite a few years, it would be the same as trying to track cattle.
Yeah.
Like branded cattle.
Yeah. I know y'all are not buying, the longer she talks, Fawn Weaver, I know y'all aren't buying that high school dropout story, but it's true.
Listen, here's the crazy part. I dropped out, not out of the 12th grade. I dropped out after the 10th grade. Yeah. But I will tell you this, and this is why every person who comes to me and asks me to mentor them, I say, mentorship is a crutch. You don't need it. I never had one. But I can give you a list of books that I devoured. And that is, that's 30 years, more than 30 years ago I dropped out. The amount of books I've read between now and then, I could teach a lot of these college courses at this point.
There you go. Speaking of books, for those who are watching us live on our YouTube channel, I'm holding this to the camera. Miles, can you get that? Is that okay? I want those who are watching and those who aren't watching can just Google it and see it for themselves. The book is called Love and Whiskey, but I want Fawn Weaver to tell me now in real time about this photo on the cover before we move into talking about Jack Daniel. We've talked about Nearest Green, now the Jack Daniel side of this and how he found Nearest Green and why he wanted Nearest Green and chose him to be his master distiller. But tell me first, Fawn, about this photo that we're all looking at right now as we talk.
Absolutely. That photo is what drew me into this story, because when that photo first came out in the New York Times, you had the story go around the world that Jack Daniel was a slave owner. He stole the recipe. He hid the slaves. And I looked at that photo knowing it was taken either in the 19th century or top of the 20th. We now know it to be circa 1904. But I'm looking at this photo and saying, if you wanted to hide a black man at that time, all you had to do was not mention him. You didn't have to put him in a photo. You didn't have to put his name down in print. And so the fact that not only did Jack Daniel have the black man to his right, but if you actually open the page of the book and you don't look at the crop photo that's on the cover, which is essentially what the world saw, once I saw the original photo, and that's why I lead with it in the book, is Jack Daniel didn't just have the black man to his right. He ceded the center position to the black man. That to me said Jack knew America would try to erase his mentor, and he wasn't going to allow that to happen even after death. That's what I got from that photo.
And what does that say I'm sorry. What does that say to you then, Fawn, about Jack Daniel, the man?
Oh, listen, as I've studied and done research, I believe a couple of things about Jack. Number one, he is the first known business ally. I'm sure there were others, but he's the first one that I know of, and I keep challenging people to come up with one that comes before Jack. But in America, he is the first one that I know of. You're talking about a man who, in an area that was about 25% or so African American, he was the biggest employer. He paid the most. Everybody wanted jobs at Jack Daniels, and under his leadership, 50% of the workforce was black. Not only was 50% of the workforce black, but if you were a black person doing a job and someone white came in to do the same job, you as a black person was paid more because he paid solely on tenure. And so you're looking at a model that we're still trying to figure out to this day. But I also believe it's because he literally was the 10th child, and his mother contracted typhus fever, died 7 days later when he was only 4 months. So you've got this little kid who never grew to be more than 5'2", being wet nursed by the next door neighbor. His stepmom comes in trying to raise 10 kids, doesn't like him. So he's then working as a chore boy at 7 years old on the farm where Nearest Green is the master distiller. And so I don't believe that he ever really had the opportunity to see race because he just knew too much trauma. And there's something binding about people who have come up in a similar difficulty. And so they're both on the same land, but neither one of them really have any freedom.
The more she talks, the more questions I have. I'm glad I have another 30 minutes here, and I'm glad there's a whole book that unpacks a great deal of what Fawn Weaver and I are just scratching the surface about in this hour. Her name is Fawn Weaver. I'm Tavis Smiley. We're discussing her new book. It's called Love and Whiskey, the remarkable true story of Jack Daniel, his master distiller, Nearest Green, and the improbable rise of Uncle Nearest. Fawn Weaver, as I mentioned a couple of times, I say it again because I just love saying it, is the first black American woman to found and lead a company valued at more than $1 billion that's not in the world of sports or entertainment. She's a bad girl, and I'm glad to have her on Tavis Smiley right now.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. CenterPoint Energy says crews are working around the clock to get power restored in Texas, as more than 1 million people in the Houston area are still without power. The heat index is expected to reach 106 today. The chorus of Democrats calling for President Biden to exit the 2024 campaign is growing louder. The president says he's looking forward to the election. Chicago is recognizing the disparity in what African American women and their white counterparts are paid. A recent report for the United States Census Bureau shows that African American women earn 66 for every dollar earned by white men. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your home for 24/7 news, the Black Information Network at BINnews.com.
Hi, we're Comparion Insurance Agency. Never heard of us? We know. But to help it stick that our local agents are insurance experts, we're going to say local agent 3 times in the next 5 seconds. Local agent, local agent, local agent.
Find us at ComparionInsurance.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
USA Basketball Managing Director Grant Hill confirmed that Clipper star Kawhi Leonard was sent home Wednesday because he wasn't healthy. Leonard's right knee started giving him problems again after 3 days of practices with the U.S. Olympic men's team in Las Vegas. Inflammation in Leonard's right knee forced him to miss the final 8 regular season games and the last 4 games against Dallas in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Boston Celtics guard Derek White is replacing Leonard on the roster. More than 20,000 people, including former President Barack Obama, showed up at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas to watch Team USA beat Canada Wednesday night in an exhibition game. Anthony Davis had 10 points and 11 rebounds off the bench. The team leaves today for Abu Dhabi to play exhibition games against Australia and Serbia. The Summer Olympics begins July 28th in Paris. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. I started Blindster in 2010 in my garage after I overpaid for new blinds. I researched the industry, hired my mom, and 14 years later, we're one of the largest retailers of custom blinds in the U.S. Don't pay too much for new blinds. Go to Blindster.com.
We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what part politics play in our lives.
Questions about black voters, their disengagement, lack of information, and support or lack thereof for Democratic candidates have once again taken center stage as Democrats, Republicans, and independent candidates compete for this critical voting bloc. Will black voters abandon Democrats in this election, move historic numbers of votes toward the Republican nominee, or will they continue a decades-long trend of overperforming for Democratic candidates up and down the ballot? The stakes have never been higher for black America. Tune in to KBLA's new show, The Black Pack, hosted by veteran political strategist Adrian Shropshire, every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. for a breakdown of the issues, rhetoric, polling, and more this election year. It's The Black Pack with Adrian Shropshire, Fridays from 4 to 6 p.m. exclusively on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Nox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Nox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Nox 47 for free, call now. 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-617-1621. That's 800-617-1621.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us and our climate justice campaign partner, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr., as we celebrate the grand unveiling of the South LA Greenway, Saturday, August 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Augustus Hawkins Nature Park, 5790 Compton Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. Join us for a green and healthy festival with free food, planting activities, tree adoptions, nature walking tours, Zumba, yoga, sound baths, and more. It's summer, time to get outside. We look forward to seeing you at the dedication of the South LA Greenway, Saturday, August 3rd, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Augustus Hawkins Nature Park, 5790 Compton Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr. and KBLA Talk 1580.
Ready to re-examine your assumptions and expand your inventory of ideas? More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
More of Tavis Smiley and Fawn Weaver coming your way right now as we continue this rich dialogue about her new book. It's called Love and Whiskey, the remarkable true story of Jack Daniel, his master distiller nearest green, and the Improbable Rise of Uncle Nearest. It's an amazing book, but don't take my word for it. It's on the New York Times bestseller list. I've done that a few times in my career with a few books, and trust me, it ain't easy to do. When you make the list, and you make it for weeks now, as Fawn Weaver has, you got a great story, and Americans are eating this story up. Speaking of people eating this story up, Fawn, let me just pivot for a second. I've been fascinated by this in my own head, and now I get a chance to ask you. So it seems to me, and with all due respect to Jack Daniels, your brand is Uncle Nearest. We'll talk more about that in a moment, as we already have. So your brand is Uncle Nearest. But it seems to me you've done a huge favor for the Jack Daniels brand. So
without question.
Tell me about that part.
Listen, let me tell you something. So they've made, I think, some decisions more recently that have gone away from what they have done marketing wise historically and things of that nature, and I don't know how that's going to continue to impact them. But what I can say is, when I came into this, clearly not everybody up there was excited about what I was doing. You had certain people who understood, no, this is huge for us. Like, just let her keep talking, because instead of us being instead of Jack being just a brand like Jim Beam or Johnny Walker or one of those guys, he's now this incredible man, right? This incredible human being, and just let her keep talking. Our sales are going up.
Yeah.
But there were still people in that company that were constantly throwing grenades, trying to set traps, trying to harm my business. And after a couple of years, I finally, to try to settle this, I guess maybe about 3 years into it, to try to help them to understand, I literally pulled up their stock for the 11 years prior, that if you pull it up for 11 years, and this was going, I want to say this was 2019. Yeah, it was 2019 that I did it, so it was 2 years in. Mm-hmm. So I went from 2019, I went back to 2008. I took a screenshot of what it looked like, and it basically looked like a straight line because they were going up such a small amount that, you couldn't really tell. I did my first interview on this story on July 19th, 2017. On July 26, 2017, that stock out of nowhere began to hockey stick and did not come down. So I literally sent them a screenshot and said, "You're welcome." Mm-hmm. And after that point, I think they finally understood. I came into this and I was very clear. My job is to raise up one legacy without harming the legacy of another. And so I was very clear that no matter what they did, no matter how certain people in that company tried to harm my business, that I would never let that impact Jack Daniel the man. And I held so true to that. I still do to this day. And so, but when I sent that, there's something about capitalism that helps people to understand. I am good for you. Yeah. Like, it may not be comfortable that you don't know where my research is going, and I'm living in Lynchburg among the people, and you're up in Kentucky. I understand that's uncomfortable, but your sales are going up. So just say thank you and let's move on.
Just like we
have a great relationship now, but yeah.
Just like a black woman making money for everybody, the good white folk and herself. So
everybody.
Everybody getting paid. Everybody getting paid.
Everybody's name. Everybody gets paid. We're good for that. We never just take care of ourselves.
No, we don't. That's the story of what it means to be a black woman in America, and I ain't mad at you. I was laughing as you were talking because I have noticed. I pay attention to these things. I think part of what blesses me to be half as good as I am. I'm always watching. I'm studying everything. I'm always observing everything. And I was just in Memphis a few weeks ago. I was honored to be asked to MC the Blues Hall of Fame, the Blues Hall of Fame Awards in Memphis. And so I went down to be the MC, the host of this amazing show. I'd never seen it. It was an amazing show of all these great blues artists who were featured in this annual program honoring the best in blues. Had a great time in Memphis, as I always do, but just had a great time that night with all these artists, many of whom I'd met, many of whom I'd interviewed, and others I had not met before. So this was my first time, actually second time, hanging out with Kingfish. And you probably know where I'm going with this. I see this commercial all the time now, a Jack Daniels commercial featuring Kingfish. So it's clear to me. It's clear to me that in their marketing and their outreach, as you've been telling this story of Uncle Nearest Green being their black distiller, they're getting more and more comfortable with black people and black outreach in their own ad campaigns. And I just see this commercial all the time featuring the great blues artist Kingfish.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it is a group of people that if we will support if you actually let us know that we are of value to you.
Right.
And when we came on the scene, the percentage of black people drinking Uncle Nearest drinking Jack Daniel was well below a percentage point.
Right.
They actually told me the percentage.
Yeah.
And this was early on when it was more of a kind of dismissing us because the thought process was, well, black people don't drink whiskey, so you can go ahead and tell your black story you're black, the story's black, everybody's black, and you can talk to black people, and it's not going to impact anything. So the thought process with us coming in was that Uncle Nearest would be a story that only appealed to us and that we didn't drink whiskey. That was the overall thinking. And boy, did we come in and flip that thing on its head, because when you come to Nearest Green Distillery, you're going to see everybody, every background, every race, every political affiliation. I mean, everybody. It is easily one of the most diverse places you will ever step foot on in America outside of Disneyland. Everybody is there at the same time. But because it had never been done before, I think that the assumption was that only one group of people would be drawn to this, and it would be a very small percentage of black people that would be drawn to this, and everybody was just wrong. Yeah. They were just wrong.
So this is a pretty fundamental and basic question. I know in part the answer to this, but I want to give you a chance to just expound on it anyway. So as an entrepreneur, I mentioned earlier, I called you a serial entrepreneur, and indeed you are. But when you set out to do this, again, I'm no naivete in asking this, but in terms of branding, brand promotion, why did you believe that Uncle Nearest was the answer to the prayer, if I can put it that way?
We didn't actually have a choice. Because if you think about it now, when we say Nearest Green, which is the name that he used when he was alive, his children used it in legal documents, his grandchildren used it in legal documents. It's why the distillery is named Nearest Green Distillery, because I believe if he had started his own distillery, he would have called it Nearest Green, not Uncle Nearest, because that's what other people called him. Right. But the challenge with the name Nearest Green is until we identified that as being a human, it sounds like your nearest golf course. So
branding,
we now say Nearest Green, and we know it's
teaching.
a person.
Hold on, she's teaching a branding 101 class right now. Keep going, Fawn Weaver.
So there was no way. We had to identify him as a human being first. And Nathan Green, which is his legal name, as soon as he was a free man, as quickly as he possibly could, he stopped using that name. So doing the research in this area in Middle Tennessee, what you very quickly learn is the Nathan who came around here, I'm in Shelbyville right now, Lynchburg's right next door to me, the Nathan that came through here that was the most known, and he came through this area recruiting people for his Bedford, his Bedford or Forest escorts, was Nathan Bedford Forrest. And you're talking about the first Grand Wizard of the KKK. He traded more than 1,000 slaves a year, according to tax records. Largest slave trader in this area. He was the top Confederate general in this area. And so if I am Nearest Green, I don't want that name either.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the only reason we even put out a Nathan Green bottle overseas, we did a single barrel, we did it with a group, was to protect the trademark, because at that time where Brown-Forman, who owns Jack Daniel, you had people in that company telling distributors, don't pick up Uncle Nearest because we're going to come out with our own Nathan Green bottle.
Oh, I got it.
And so I had to make it very clear that I owned all the trademarks, not just a single trademark. Now, they already knew that, but the distributors didn't, so it was easy to fool the distributors. Yeah. So I had to put out a bottle in every single name to secure the trademark. But outside of that, Uncle Nearest was the name. But here's the thing. Yeah. Now we've established Nearest Green as a person. So I'm sure you know what'll be coming down the pipeline soon.
I can see it. I can see clearly. I can see very clearly. That don't take much rocket science to figure that out. I keep laughing. All of this from a high school dropout. All of this from a high school dropout. I know Fawn as an L.A. girl, but she's holed up in Tennessee these days. I want to talk to her about that part on a personal level. L.A. to Tennessee? Our guest is Fawn Weaver. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley. Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA reminds you that when we fight, we win, and we don't black down. LA Community Action Network, or LA CAN, was formed in 1999 when 25 residents of downtown LA came together and acknowledged the problems that existed in their community and made a commitment to do something about those problems, to stand together, organize, and become a force in the community that demands change. Civil rights and preventing the criminalization of poverty are their core projects. In addition, they take on women's rights, the human right to housing, and healthy food access. LA CAN also has projects focused on economic development, civic participation, voter engagement, and community media. While downtown LA remains their home base, with a particular emphasis on the Skid Row community, in 2007 they expanded their housing and healthy food access work into South Central Los Angeles. LA CAN believes that power for low-income people and people of color is achieved through a large, active, and well-informed member base that utilizes a multitude of methods to advance their messages and goals. If you'd like to join the Los Angeles Community Action Network and organize people to fight back against oppression, please visit cangress.org. That's cangress.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Happy anniversary, KBLA! KBLA Talk 1580 is now celebrating 3 years of amplifying our voice and uplifting our community. We deeply appreciate your support of this radio station and will always do our level best to earn your support. Here's to many more years of loving and serving our community. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
I know it's gonna happen without you.
Who do you trust to get at the truth? Tavis Smiley. That's who. The conversation continues right now.
Fawn Weaver, this won't surprise you. I know many people, and I'm sure you do as well, who've turned down opportunities, who have had to walk away from relationships, et cetera, all over geography. I know you as an L.A. girl, and now you hanging out in Tennessee. Talk to me.
I love it here. I absolutely love it here. And it's interesting because I think truly what Nearest and Jack began down in Lynchburg, where people are just equal. They just respect one another. It's interesting. Los Angeles has a lot of microaggressions.
Yeah.
I don't get that here at all. So this is what I love about the South, personally, is in the South you know who's racist.
Mm-hmm.
In LA, I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. You just have people that will intentionally keep you down, and you have no idea. So you just keep working and working and working, trying to get towards something that you're never going to get toward in that place, in that environment, and you're never going to know because they're just going to smile at you. Here, no. You know you need to go somewhere else. You're like, but you know, when I go down to Lynchburg, I'm high-fiving the sheriffs. I'm giving, you know, listen, the sheriff of Lynchburg used to be my gardener. True story. And he comes from one of the most well-known, noble families of Lynchburg. But he was my gardener for like 3 years and came to me and said, "Hey, I'm running for sheriff. Can I put my sign in your front yard?" And he's been a great sheriff. And here in the city, when I tell you that the amount of grants and support for being able to do what we want to do with our land and all the rest of that have come from old white Republicans.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's not what, at least, and I can't speak for the rest of the South.
Sure,
I can only speak for Shelbyville and Lynchburg. I feel safer here than I do anywhere else in the country.
Wow. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Fawn Weaver, I will let her brag as much as she wants to about Uncle Nearest. She's earned it. That's the first black American woman to lead a company valued at more than $1 billion. It's not in sports and entertainment. She's earned it as a result of all the research for this book, Love and Whiskey, the remarkable true story of Jack Daniel, his master distiller, Nearest Green, and the improbable rise of Uncle Nearest. I'm going to let you sound off, Fawn Weaver, when we come forward on everything this audience ought to know about your brand, Uncle Nearest, on Tavis Smiley.
Seeking the truth. Speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. Pro Football Hall of Famer and urban peace pioneer Jim Brown believed in just that. So he founded the Amera I Can Foundation for Social Change in 1988, focusing on at-risk and high-risk youth in underserved schools and juvenile detention facilities, as well as adult incarceration and reentry initiatives. The core of the Amera I Can program is its 15-chapter life skills curriculum. Mastery of these skills allows individuals to meet their academic potential, conform their behavior to acceptable societal standards, and improve the quality of their lives by equipping them with what they need to confidently and successfully contribute to society. Today, the foundation is led by its president, Monique Brown, who has been actively involved in the organization for more than 25 years. The Amera I Can Foundation continues its work in memory of its founder, actor, philanthropist, and NFL legend Jim Brown. To get involved or make a donation, please visit AmeriICanCommunity.partners. That's AmeriICanCommunity.partners. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the third time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Fawn Weaver. In the 4 minutes I have left here, you already know from this conversation that Uncle Nearest Premium Whiskey is the fastest growing American whiskey brand in U.S. history. It's the best-selling African-American founded spirit brand of all time. It's won all kind of honors and awards, but I want to give these last few minutes to Fawn to just tell me about the state of her business and anything you want us to know about Uncle Nearest, your brand.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to brag on Love and Whiskey, the book first.
Yes.
And then I'll brag on Uncle Nearest,
Do it all.
the brand.
Do it all.
Love and Whiskey, it is very rare for us to see a black person on the New York Times list, and you know this, for multiple weeks.
Yep.
And this book launched on June 18th. It has been on the New York Times list since. And the reviews keep it at a 5-star, which is pretty astounding. But it is literally, people are reading this and realizing that there is so much hope embedded in this book. It's not just a book about history. It's not just a book about my life. It's a page turner, and people are reading it in 2 and 3 days. So I will say that's my brag on Love and Whiskey, because I've not been on the list for this many weeks straight. So I'm with it. I'm loving it.
Go for it.
Now, Uncle Nearest is, as you mentioned, but it's not just an awarded whiskey and awarded bourbon. It is the most awarded bourbon for the 5th year in a row. So imagine if you go through Louisville, Kentucky right now, you will see billboards throughout that airport that reminds travelers that although they're in bourbon country, the most awarded bourbon in the world is not from there. It's from Tennessee. And the fact that Nearest Green's great-great-granddaughter, every bit of juice in our bottle passes her lips first. If she doesn't approve it, it goes back into the barrel. And so the reason why we've won over 1,200 awards, we've won every best in class there is coming into this industry, we knew we couldn't just put out a great bourbon with a great story. It had to be the best bourbon with the best story, because we've never succeeded in the industry. So we set out into a new industry in which we've never succeeded and said, we're going to come in and we're going to do it better than anybody that's ever come before us. And we're only 7 years into it next week, and we are doing exactly what we set out to do.
Yeah. And how do you see, in the 45 seconds I have left here, how do you see your efforts, your successful efforts, opening up the doors for other black folk in this space?
Without question. We have more black people as founders in the spirits industry right now, by far, than has ever been in the industry. If you take everyone combined up until the point of Uncle Nearest, and then you just go from the time we became successful until now, there is more in this window than there had been in the 400 years before us.
I could talk
so what we have done is shown we could work. We can succeed in this industry.
I did not mean to cut you off. I'm sorry, Fawn. I could talk to Fawn Weaver, as you can tell, for hours. Every time we get together, it's an amazing conversation, because she just makes it easy. I wish every guest were like Fawn Weaver. I digress on that point, but I love me some Fawn Weaver. Her book, the New York Times best-selling book, is called Love and Whiskey, the remarkable true story of Jack Daniel, his master distiller, Nearest Green, and the improbable rise of Uncle Nearest. Fawn, I am so proud of you. I love you dearly. I'm grateful for this conversation. Wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Tavis. Thank you.
Stay strong. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. CenterPoint Energy says crews are working around the clock to get power restored in Texas, as more than 1 million people in the Houston area are still without power. The heat index is expected to reach 106 today. The chorus of Democrats calling for President Biden to exit the 2024 campaign